Hey guys, welcome back to the Espresso Outlet YouTube channel. And today we've had a lot of people liking these kind of like under the hood style videos, and we've had a lot of questions about this Rocio Manus. So the Manus is a pretty cool espresso machine. It's made in Korea, so it's not your standard either, like usually it's Italy or China and a few in Germany. This one's actually Korean, and I really liked it. I feel like in pictures, it doesn't really present well, but every single person that's come by the shop, they're like, that is a really good looking machine. So I really have enjoyed it, but I've not taken a look inside. So I figured, why don't you join me today? I got a couple of T-handles. I believe probably a 2.5 is going to be the majority of these body panels. I have a screwdriver just in case. And if we need any other tools, I'll just mention them throughout the video. So I've not taken this one apart. But we're going to, and we're going to check it out on the inside. So to begin with, let's remove the water tank and the door for the water. I'm going to place this over here. Let's remove our portafilter and just put it away. And I think we're going to begin by just removing this top panel. Now, the majority of testing that you're going to do on an espresso machine, you should be able to take care of a good portion of it just by removing this top panel. But on occasion, there's like a pump or something that might go out, usually years down the road, and you're going to have to take off one or both body panels. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So it looks like this top panel, there's 4 screws, and I really like the design. Quite a few screws I like less because it's usually easier to get in and out of. But from first glance, it looks like it's going to be really easy to get into. There's 2 at the front and 2 at the back. Okay, so I mentioned that there's just 4 screws, and I usually take a look around. They're kind of hiding from me. There's actually 2 more screws. You'll want to make sure not to drop these. I think you can also just loosen them a little bit. And you can see, when you loosen them, this panel slides back, and we should be able to pull it off. Okay, so with that lid taken off, you do get access to some of the more common things that you're going to usually kind of mess with. You do have your boiler fill probe. So this probe sticks down into your tank and it conducts water. So it knows when it has a connection through the water that it is full, and it turns off your fill valves. When the pressure drops, that tells it to refill. Sometimes these will get dirty. You'll need to remove the probe, use some steel wool or something just to get all that sediment off. Another thing that I like to point out is if you're using like really purified water, like distilled, which you shouldn't do, but people will say that my machine is acting weird. Usually one of the first things that we ask is, are you using like distilled water or like really pure RO water? Because those types of waters don't conduct electricity. So probably not something that you'll need to mess with a whole lot, but if your machine isn't filling for whatever reason, that's probably one of the first things that I would check. The next thing we have here is it's our overpressure valve for protection on the boiler. So if for whatever reason this thing had an issue where the element stayed on, this is what would release the pressure. Really nice Italian made component. A lot of times these are pretty junky on a lot of machines that you see out there. In the middle we have our anti-vac, and you can see it just kind of like moves around. So when our boiler begins to pressurize, it actually pops up and will clog up that port. And when it cools down, it obviously releases the vacuum pressure inside the tank. So sometimes you'll have issues with these machines that don't have these. I think almost everything nowadays does, but it's nice and easily accessible on the top. You'll hear people say, I have like some steam coming out the top of my machine, but it seems to be working. A lot of times cleaning this anti-vac is all you need to do, so really easy. The next thing is our PID temperature probe. Again, not something that you're probably going to mess with a whole lot. We showed in a maintenance video recently on how to test some of these components. I can actually link that below, but that is where your temperature probe is going to be for your PID display in the top. We'll show a better view of it here in a second, but we do have some thermal overloads on the side. It's these red wires through here. Really all those are there to do is if for whatever reason your machine got really hot again, is to interrupt the circuit through like essentially a thermal circuit breaker to turn off your boiler so that you don't ruin your machine or get hurt. A lot of times during shipping, there's little buttons on the side of usually just one of them. And that button will pop out, and for whatever reason your machine's not heating up but it seems to have power, usually reach in there, push that button in, and you're good to go. Since there's not a whole lot more to see on the top, I'm going to start pulling off the side panels. Okay, so for these side panels, they got quite a few screws. There's 6 on the face, and then there's 2 on top. I'm thinking when I remove these 2 on top that the back panel might come off. We'll find out here in a second, but we got quite a few screws to undo. Probably won't need to go this deep into your machine, but if for whatever reason you need to mess with the pump or a component that's a little bit more buried, you might need to take off one side panel or the other. Okay, so we went ahead and removed those 8 screws. Didn't take very long at all, and our side panel just simply lifts off like so. Just to kind of spatially orient where you're at on the machine, just in case you ever needed to open this up, we have our main control board on the left side. So it'd be facing the machine and be on the left side. You can see our water tank fill sensor right here. Sometimes these do get bent or broken. So if for whatever reason it's not showing that you have any water, there's a float on the inside that you might need to kind of break some of the crud off of if you're using poor water, which don't do that. But that's where your sensor is. And then we have our main board. We do have a fuse. It might be something that if you're ever to troubleshoot the espresso machine that you check just to make sure that a fuse hasn't popped. Usually if it pops, that means there's something bigger going on. And you can kind of see the back side of our pressure gauge. There's not a whole lot to see on this side. We do have our power that comes in and has our main power switch. I think let's flip the machine around. There'll be 8 more screws on the other side. Let's take a quick look at the components on that side. Okay, so we got it turned around. We removed those 8 screws, and I'm pretty sure that this back panel is going to come off at the same time. Maybe not. So let's pull off that side panel and see if our back panel... Looks like our back panel is held on with some screws underneath, so I missed that, but I just didn't want this to fall off and become damaged. Okay, so now we are on the right side of the machine. If you're looking from the front, you have the right side of the machine with the panel taken off. And at the top, you have your PID display. It's kind of hard to see at this angle, and your adjustment knob. For whatever reason, one of those goes out, really easy to work on. Here are your thermal overloads that I mentioned earlier. Usually one of them does not have a button, and one of them does. And this one back here has a little gray button. So if it's not heating up, I would make sure to press that in. We'll move the camera around a little bit, but the group head switch looks extremely high quality. I kind of wasn't expecting it to be that nice. Something that you'd see on a more commercialized piece of equipment. So that's always nice to see when they're using really high quality components. We have our 3-way valve and our boiler fill valve. These are solenoid valves, so they're electronically actuated. The control board on the other side is going to know when your probe at the top doesn't have enough water inside that boiler, and it's going to run the pump and fill up your boiler. Similarly, when you run the espresso machine, you do have this valve right here with an OPV valve on the top. And then at the very base, it doesn't look like it's going to be that hard to replace. Inevitably, the pumps always go out. Doesn't matter what brand. Luckily, this is a Oka pump. Same thing that you're going to find in like Rocket, Lilith, the Gallatin. I mean, it's just an extremely popular, easy to find pump. And then just a little bit different angle. Here's that group head switch. When you lift it up, it triggers a switch. Really easy to access if you ever needed to do some troubleshooting on why it's not turning on. We have our PID display right here and our control knob. And just access to all these components. Not the easiest to see, but here is our Oka pump. You can see it's on a nice rubber mount. The reason for that is to not hear it as much. It's just kind of like your sound vibration. So really nice deadening built into that. I do have a lot of people freak out about plastic. You do have a small PTFE tube. Your pump, I mean, it's going to be PTFE as well. So pretty much every espresso machine is going to have some level of plastic in it. This is all just fresh water, so it's not going to be heated up. Any other tubing that you see like this is just kind of return lines for discharge lines, and they're made out of silicone. So everything on these machines are super food safe. I don't believe anyone has asked, but originally I was curious when I got the espresso machine what this little valve is for. Is it some sort of an adjustment? If you were to unscrew it, and I'll show you another angle, there's just a rubber stopper on the inside. So I was a little bit confused on what it did. And when you take a look underneath the machine, you can actually find a valve. And when you open the valve, that allows you to drain your boiler. So machine maintenance on this, really quite easy to maintain if you're going to do like a descale. Let's move it real quick. Here's the top of that valve. I'll move one more time. It's just a simple ball valve on the bottom of the machine that allows you to open it and drain your boiler really easy. So really no reason not to maintain the machine. Just a quick view of the underside. There is our port, and here's our valve to drain our boiler. Okay, so before wrapping up this video, I would ask that if you've not subscribed to the Espresso Outlet YouTube channel and you do enjoy our content, we would appreciate those subscriptions. It does help our channel grow. We're kind of on that road to 10,000. We do like making lots of content, and we want this channel to grow and this community to grow. For all of you that are already subscribers, I really appreciate it. Please continue to come back, give us ideas for videos, join our lives, check out our TikTok. We have lots of fun stuff in different avenues out there. But for today, I just wanted to show you the internals of the Manus. It's really not that difficult to work on if you're needing to work on it yourself. You can kind of see the quality of the components, lots of brass, lots of copper, stainless steel boiler. It's actually just a very extremely well-made machine. It's also quite simple, and that makes it really easy to work on. But if for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable, I would recommend taking it to a technician. They should be able to find the parts and make the repair for you. But I think that's about all for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you next time.